Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Georgia Regional, a virtual experience. This has been a great event so far. Thank you to all the exhibitors for participating in our trade show and to all of you for taking time out of your day to be with us. My name is Vic Zaver. I'm the Georgia Regional Director. Honored to serve you guys, our members, and it's a privilege to work on your behalf to be an advocate for initiatives and issues AAHOA is constantly working on. I would like to thank our sponsors, Chase and RLH Corporation. Their support means so much for our association, and we are grateful for their partnership. Here's a message from Chase. At Chase, we are committed to the well-being and safety of our customers, our employees, and our community. We're here for you when you need us, whether it's providing best practices, professional consultation, or business tools and resources. Next is a message from RLH Corporation. RLH Corporation is an innovative hospitality company focused on the franchising of 8 brands from upscale boutique to economy hotels. They emphasize maximizing return on invested capital for their nearly 1,000 hotel owners across North America through relevant brands, industry-leading technology, and forward-thinking brand services. RLH Corp thanks AAHOA for being a major industry partner and providing our hotel owners and operators with an association where hotelier voices matter and imperative resources are readily available.
All right, we have breaking news now. World Health Organization has just declared coronavirus a pandemic at this point.
Next up, I'd like to recognize our ambassadors. Your involvement is the key to AAHOA's success. Our officers, our board, and our ambassadors are all volunteers. I would like to recognize the region ambassadors here in Georgia. They work tirelessly to support our region. And first off, I would like to thank Atul Patel, Bhavish Bobby Patel, Davin Patel, Dharmang Dave Shah, Dylan Patel, Helen Zaver, Jordan Kellerman, Kiran Shah, Millie Shah, Nitin Nick Patel, Roy Levine, and Umang Patel. I would also like to recognize the Georgia Region 2019 Premier Ambassador, Andy Bula. He went above and beyond in service to AAHOA and to our nation's hoteliers, and we are grateful for his service. Thank you to all our ambassadors and for all you do for our region. Now let us take a moment to review our regional performance. As you can see, the Georgia region has 790 paid members, 475 lifetime members, and I urge you to encourage your networks to join or renew their AAHOA membership. Hoteliers are struggling right now, and we need to rely on each other more than ever. If you have a friend or family member who is not yet an AAHOA member, please help them out. Encourage them to become a member today and take advantage of all the resources that AAHOA offers. As a reminder, the AAHOA membership is free for those who own RLH Corporation or G6 franchises. Also, if you or your fellow hoteliers a Wyndham franchisee who has never been a AAHOA member, you too are eligible for a free membership. This year, our region has raised $10,386 for the AAHOA PAC. If you have not yet donated to our PAC, I can do it right now securely through AAHOA.com or here at our regional by visiting the information desk. Your support is greatly appreciated. Here are the names for those who have donated to the AAHOA PAC. We are grateful for your support. AAHOA supports candidates who support small business and are more specifically hoteliers. Here are the candidates that AAHOA PAC is supporting in our region. On Tuesday, January 5th, there will be a runoff election for both the Georgia seats and the United States Senate. In our state, runoff elections are held when no candidate wins the required majority of votes. I encourage you to register to vote if you have not yet done so. The deadline for that is December 7th. Early voting begins December 14th, and you can vote in person on January 5th. As Georgians, we are in a unique position. Republicans currently hold 50 seats in the Senate, Democrats and independents hold 48 seats. If Democrats win Georgia's Senate seats, the chamber will be split 50-50, and Vice President-elect Harris will cast the deciding vote in the event of ties. If Republicans win just one of the runoff races, they will hold a 51-seat majority. Our state can decide which party controls the U.S. Senate, so your vote is more important than ever. We work best when we work together. I am proud of what we have accomplished, especially in the face of this pandemic. I am grateful for your support and your participation, especially all of you who updated your property data through myahoa.com. When you update your property information, it helps us help you, such as when you're talking with brands, vendors, or elected officials. It helps us paint a more complete picture for your influence as job creators and leaders in the business and in your community. We also need your emails and cell phone numbers. Be sure to opt in to receive the latest news, updates, and special deals, and it only takes a few minutes. If you please do so today. Update your property information through myahoa.com and help us be better advocates for you and to best communicate with you. We have several important events coming up, including additional regionals. Log in to AAHOA.com every day to find new events to attend, even virtually. We add new ones every day. I'm looking forward to a great year. And please join me in welcoming Lena Patel, Female Director, Eastern Division, for an update on our women hoteliers.
Hello, women hoteliers. At our San Diego convention, we took a moment to celebrate ways we can learn from one another, inspire one another, and set ourselves up for a year of progress and success in our businesses. Women, especially the women of AAHOA, have a history of building up one another. But women don't just help women. We speak up in support of hotel owners across America. Women hoteliers met with members of Congress, legislative staff, state representatives during the Legislative Action Summit and Capitol Hill Days in states across the country in order to share in real terms how policies affect small business owners. We fundraise for the AAHOA PAC because we understand the importance of making sure Congress is made up of pro-business leaders who understand our industry. And in the midst of all of this, we continue to give back. We pay it forward. We help the next generation of hotel owners. We prepared holiday care packages for children in foster care, and we gathered much needed supplies for women in shelters. I think you'll all agree with me that this strange season has inspired us all to stop and think about what's really important and the kinds of leaders we want to be. I also want to tell you about the Women Hoteliers Focus Group. This group is dedicated to helping advance women professionals in hospitality industry. If you want to become more involved, to build your network, connect with the industry leaders, and grow, I encourage you to join us. Until business is back to normal, I've been thinking a lot about how I can invest in myself and in my team to become the strongest we can be. and I'm so thankful for the endless resources AAHOA has for me, whether I'm at the office or enjoying a moment of peace and quiet. If you've been thinking about this too, this idea of taking some time to invest in you, I hope you'll join me. I've thought about a few ways, all the things that I can do on my own schedule at my own pace. For example, taking one 20-minute AHOA webinar every day between now and New Year's Eve. I want to be more informed about sales, and AHOA has more than 20 classes on that topic, all free and in a format that fits my schedule. Or maybe even having my team take the new AHOA PNG Professionals Training in Hotel Sanitization and Cleanliness, the latest training certificate offered from the AHOA Hotel Owners Academy for hotel owners and their staff. As travel resumes, we want our customers to feel confident and comfortable when they choose to stay at our property. This small step will make a big difference. I hope you'll join me this season in choosing your way to invest in yourself because you deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. Now we will hear from Bhavik Patel, Young Professional Director, Eastern Division, for an update on the next generation of hoteliers.
Professional hoteliers, I am Bhavik Patel, your AAHOA Young Professional Director, Eastern Division. The people on Capitol Hill and in state legislatures across the country might understand on a theoretical basis what we're going through. Sure, people aren't traveling as much these days and the hospitality industry must be feeling it. But the message really hits home when we put numbers in front of them. This is where you come in. You may have heard this before, AAHOA asking you to update your property data. It would have been helpful then, but it's absolutely critical now. We need to paint a clear picture of what America's hotel owners are going through. That means the number of hotels, the number of jobs, and the number of tax dollars governments won't see because of decline in travel. This year, we elected a new Congress, and the fact of the matter is that we will likely need to educate a new class of leaders about the hospitality industry. We'll need to tell them the success of our industry is not only important to our own businesses, but it has a ripple effect through the local economies and our country. Plain and simple, the most effective way to hit that point home is with numbers. They're not going to just take our word for it. Dozens of other industries will also be clamoring for their attention. But we can prove it if we have the numbers. To those of you who may have already provided your property data, thank you. To those of you who have provided some, but not all of your properties, or to those of you who have been meaning to for a while now, it's not too late. This is the perfect time to take a small step that will make a big difference. AAHOA has been investing in technology to make the benefits of membership accessible wherever you are. My AAHOA, the exclusive member portal, is your one-stop shop. It is where you can update your property information. It is also where you, as a young professional can indicate that you want to receive news and information relevant to young professionals. By completing your profile and updating your preferences, you can customize your entire AAHOA experience so that it reflects you and the business you.
Thank you, Bhavik.
On behalf of Jayesh Patel, AAHOA Director at Large, who is not able to join us today, I would like to share this message. Thank you for joining us at this AAHOA Regional Conference and Trade Show. This is a great example of what AAHOA is all about, connection. AAHOA offers networking opportunities that are second to none, connecting hotel owners with other owners and industry leaders to help us strengthen our networks. AAHOA connects owners with deals and discounts offered by hundreds of vendors across the country because we know the value of a dollar. And AAHOA connects owners with industry data and information we need to make decisions for our businesses in these uncertain times. If you want to be more connected, there's never been a better time to be an AAHOA member. If you've been thinking about becoming an AAHOA member for the first time and you own a Wyndham property, your membership is free. If you own a G6 or RLH property and your membership or your renewal is free as well. And whether you own an independent or branded property, AAHOA is here to help you nevertheless. Join or renew your AAHOA membership today by visiting AAHOA.com or calling 404-888-8255. 816-5759. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am pleased to introduce our next guest who will be joining me to discuss the 2020 state of the lodging industry and top issues in our region. Please join me in welcoming our panelists, Chris Hardman, Director of Governmental Affairs and Membership, Georgia Hotel and Lodging Association, Jordan Kellerman, Director of Business Development, Stonehill, and Millie Shaw, Hotelier of Imperial Investments Group, attorney of Shaw Firm and SBA lender of Ready Capital. Please welcome everyone. Nice to see you guys all again. Jordan, Chris, Millie, hope everyone's been doing well, staying safe, staying healthy. It's been a crazy 2020 year that we've had. And, I kind of want to see what you guys are, what your thoughts and views have been so far, the industry and the market. And, I would love to start with Millie. Millie, we talk all the time. And, I always kind of try to trip you up and ask you different hard questions, but let's see if I could get you today.
Okay.
As everyone knows, Millie, or if you don't know Millie, she is a triple threat. She's a hotelier. She's also an attorney, and she's on the lending side. So, definitely the most about this question, which is how important are your relationships today with the lenders, employees, brands, lawmakers, and are any of your relationships helping you get much needed relief right now?
Thanks, Vic, and thanks to all the Georgia region for having me as a panelist. You asked a very loaded question. So you have lenders, you have brands, you have employees. So I'm going to start with lending. So all those years that we cultivated these relationships should be paying it forward, right? So my advice always to hoteliers is go with your local regional banks, right? When you're looking for financing, develop a depository relationship, any sort of banking relationship with them, because those are the guys that are going to be here in the tough times, right? So you need a bank that's not only going to be there with you in the good times, but also in the bad times. And I think right now, a lot of those relationships have come handy with, banks offering interest only or deferral periods for their borrowers. They all understand that every hotel and hotelier is in the same situation. When it comes to brands, they've done what they can in the past 6 months. I'm more concerned about what they're going to do going forward. And I think that's critical because we've already started seeing brands tightening up, for QA inspections starting January 1st. So there's a lot that we can do to, push the brands to give us a little bit more relief because nothing is recovering, for the next 2-3 years. When it comes to employees, the labor market was tough before COVID. It's going to continue to be tough with all the benefits employees are getting by not working. Of course, if you have those relationships with your general managers, what we experienced is that everybody actually did want to stay on, and we had to tell them, hey, we may have to cut your salary, 30-40%, but they were okay. They were happy to have jobs. So when it comes to, like I said, banking, brands, lawmakers, your own employees, your staff, I think what we've cultivated in the past is going to pay forward, right? And if we haven't cultivated it yet, the time is now, because, this is a one-time event, quote unquote, recession, if you will, for hoteliers, but it could happen again, right? So that's kind of my overall picture of what's going on in the lending scenario, if you will, with hoteliers.
Yeah, no, that's definitely very insightful. And, Jordan, I know you're kind of pretty familiar with this territory as well. Same question for you. How important are relationships today with, whether it be lenders, employees, brands, lawmakers, anyone really? And then has anyone pretty much reached out and helped in today and given relief in some sort of way?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here, guys. Thank you, Vic. My name is Jordan, and I'm the Director of Business Development for Peachtree Hotel Group in Stonehill. We're not only an owner-operator similar to Millie, but we're also a lender through our lending platform, Stonehill. So in today's world, if you're starting to create those relationships now, you're behind the 8 ball, right? Those relationships that you've been cultivated over the last few years are really coming into play today, as you need that communication, you need that relationship to identify the distress, to identify the need, and then be able to find the path forward together. Operating levels are so much lower than they have been in historical levels, that you need to be able to identify what you need and then be able to find that path forward with the lender. And be able to discuss with the brands, how they can assist you as well. So in today's world, those relationships are everything. And yeah, people are reaching out left and right, right? We are a industry of knowledge, right? We need to be able to share that information because we're all in this together. So the more we know as a lender and as an owner, the more we can communicate with others and then find paths forward that helps for everybody, right? Whether you're behind on your CMBS or whether you're a private lender, whether you need assistance on your labor levels or all the way up to the brands, that communication, that relationship is really the key to making it through this pandemic together.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, you touched on a lot of good points there, which kind of is a segue for Chris there. Chris, I know that you've had a very long, successful career at GHNLA, and I think that this will kind of tie in with what we were just previously talking about. But at the state or even local levels here in Georgia, what are you seeing as the biggest challenges on the regulatory side, and where, if any, has government stepped up to be helpful, especially right now during this pandemic?
Yeah, well, thanks, Vic, and thank you and the entire AAHOA team for having me here. As you guys know, it has been the impact has been severe and swift as it relates to the challenges that we've seen at the state and local level. Not so much at the state. We were actually, and I'm sure we're going to get into a little bit more of this later on, but we were pretty successful early on in our relationship, talking about relationships with the governor's office and ensuring that he does not restrict hotels out of business. I mean, if you look at Georgia and the restrictions that have been placed on hotels compared to just about any other state, I mean, we're pretty open for business, and we're going to continue to pursue that moving forward. An example of that would be just on event and banquet facilities at hotels. We were able to have the governor lift in April the capacity limit on event and banquet facilities. I think that was just a huge step forward, and I think that was an example on what we can see from our governor's office as well as our legislators moving forward in 2020 and how open Georgia will be for hoteliers to do business. Another thing when it comes, I think you mentioned the local level as well. Local governments, per the governor's executive action, they do not have the ability to pass any legislation or through executive action, anything that would be more or less restrictive than what is laid out in the governor's executive order. So it is only one set of guidelines that hoteliers, restaurateurs, you name it, anybody in our industry would have to comply with. And those guidelines, again, are a lot less restrictive than just about any other state.
Right. No, it's definitely, the state of Georgia so far has been one of the more progressive states during this pandemic. Pretty early on, one of the early leaders and adopters to ease restrictions. And, so far it hasn't been as restrictive as some other states out there. So thank you for your help on that. Yours and AAHOA's both. I mean, you guys definitely play a key vital role in that. And, I think a lot of people still would like to know, yes, that's extremely important, but we've had a 10-year window of growth that has also come to a sudden halt because of COVID-19. Jordan, this one's actually going to go out to you. What is your current strategy to deal with this, stop in growth? And then are you building any new properties, focusing on operations? What are you looking for, distressed assets, notes? And then how does that all tie into your guys' 5-year, 10-year growth strategy for Peachtree and Stonehill?
Yeah, absolutely. So Vic, we're still being as active as we can be, right? We're all in the hotel industry and we're all bullish long term. So we're remaining optimistic, especially with news on the horizon that there's a vaccine that will be distributed soon, that demand levels will come back and our hotels will get back to more levels of normalcy in the coming years. So that being said, we're still trying to buy assets. We're looking for those distressed acquisitions to acquire the real estate. And although we haven't been as successful recently acquiring any hotels, I still think there's a little bit of a spread between seller expectation and buyer expectation, with values coming down to where they are. I think sellers are trying to hold on, and I think buyers are really waiting to smell that blood in the water and acquire at a very great basis. But we are looking to acquire hotels. And on the lending front, we're doing quite a bit, right? We've been buying a lot of distressed loans. So we've been reaching out to a lot of banks and picking up their paper. It's a lot of the banks these days are very active selling those loans, and they're selling at various discounts. And we've done about $300 million in unpaid balance of loan acquisitions over the last few months. And we're looking for more because we do believe that these hotels are going to come back and that we'll be successful on that front. And additionally, we're still lending. We still have bridge money available and preferred equity available. So if you're looking to recap any loan maturities coming up or you're looking to acquire, we can provide your bridge financing. And we have a couple of what we're calling runway capital products where we can come in with preferred equity investments and inject a couple $1 million into these assets to create an interest reserve, then cover the debt service going forward 18 months. And we're utilizing retroactive pace as well as another tool to get that done. So we're staying very active on both the debt and equity fronts, and we're optimistic that the markets will come back over the next 2 to 4 years. And the investments that we're making today will pay off well in the coming years.
Yeah, I'm glad that at least a group like you guys are remaining bullish on the markets, and Millie, you definitely have a unique perspective as well, which is kind of the opposite of Jordan, from the lending side. And I kind of want to see how you guys are, how do you guys underwrite deals? How conservative are you guys being on deals? And how easily available is it to get financing right now?
Sure. So typical community bank financing, they're not restructuring loans, right? They've offered the interest only, the deferment period. And the reason they can't really restructure is because then you'd fall into assets and end up as what we call in banking trouble debt restructure. So which becomes a substandard loan. So right now, what's happening is the banks are kind of going hard on the borrowers because their 6 months are done. So we really need, lawmakers to step in, FDIC, OCC, to kind of give some relief to banks because, Main Street lending didn't help hoteliers. They only survived off PPP and EIDL loans. And that's it, right? And now all that's expired. So I would say that be ready for the hotel lending side with the community bank to be tough. I think you're going to see a lot of loan sharks out there. You're going to see a lot of private groups doing bridge, mezzanine type of financing. I think construction, if you're already in a construction phase, you're okay. But if you're looking for new construction loan, that's going to be difficult. As we all know, the mid-scale luxury, had a tough time during this time, but the economy and independents fared okay and they're surviving. So in terms of flowing money, there may be some difficulty, but I think, like Jordan said, they're freely lending, purchasing notes. I think the next 6 months are going to be really telling in terms of banks getting rid of assets, foreclosures, bankruptcies, selling notes, accelerating notes. And I think the toughest thing is if your loan is coming for maturity, it's very hard to find a bank right now lending on hotels. So you're going to have to approach your bank and see if they can extend that maturity. So there's a lot of different facets going on at the same time, right? People are just trying to survive, break even, make their mortgage payment, make their property tax payment, make their payroll. But I think it's the next 6 months are really going to tell if banks are going to be there for us.
Yeah, I like how you kind of incorporated the lawmakers there too as well, and how they're the ones that are really putting a lot of pressure on the lenders who are therefore trickling down onto the borrowers itself.
Exactly.
Chris, this one's for you. In that same spirit, what is the message you're giving to lawmakers and state leaders about the need to allow giving to lawmakers and state leaders about the need to allow businesses to operate as long as they do it so safely? And then, tying in what Millie just mentioned, is there anything that these lawmakers can do to provide relief for the borrower or the lenders and therefore trickle down to the borrowers?
All right, I'll try to answer that in 2 parts. First, the messaging. I think the messaging is pretty clear. It's what we've all been telling everybody, how bad this industry has been hit. The impact has been severe and swift. It's been more impactful than 9/11 and the 2008 recession combined. On average, 7 out of 10 hotel rooms sit empty, $38 billion in lost revenue, 7.7 million jobs have been lost nationally, right? We'll continue to preach that message. I think the message that I am continuing to give out to our state and local legislators is more along the lines of bringing it closer to home. So, for example, we talked about the jobs lost. Well, the economic impact that the hospitality and tourism industry as a whole has had on the state of Georgia is huge. You're looking at the second largest private sector employer and also either the first, second, or third largest private sector economic driver in all of the 50 states. I mean, that's in Georgia. We were nearing on 500,000 hospitality employees. When I speak to a lawmaker, I'm telling them that's 500,000 potential constituents he or she could have. And I tell them to look at what's happened to them, their constituents, and look at the relief that needs to occur in order to get those men and women back to work. And I think that's the message that needs to be made. I think it's important that each and every hotelier on this call reach out to not just their federal elected officials, but their local and state elected officials, their state senators, their state representatives, their local city council members, and tell them your personal story, because it really means a lot when it comes from their community rather than just me as a lobbyist at the Capitol that speaks to them every day. But I try to personalize that message and really let it hit home to their specific district, to their circle. I think that's important. As it relates to some of the efforts that I think you were bringing up, some of the efforts that we were going to be looking towards moving forward, both on a federal level as well as on a state level. Federally, I know you have seen all the AAHOA updates. Most recently, there's been a call to action on making sure that Congress acts now, demanding that they act now and pass that second relief bill because it is needed for our industry to get back on our feet. That's nationally. Now, statewide, we'll be looking at several different relief measures. On January 11th, the Georgia's 2021 legislative session comes back in. We've already spent since June when the session ended, this last legislative session ended, till now, we've spoken to 48 freshman legislators, spoken to all incumbents coming back, and really educating them, again, on the messaging, the impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on our industry, but also giving them some ideas on what can happen moving forward, what they can do through legislative action to bring relief to our industry. Some of those would be, one, tax parity and regulatory parity amongst all lodging platforms, including short-term rentals, something we've been working on the past few years. Two, would be on a national level, having limited liability protection on a national level, so it's generalized throughout the nation. In Georgia, we were extremely successful early on back in June, right before the session ended, was getting Senate Bill 359 passed, which provides COVID-19 safe harbor protection to all hotels from any potential threat of a frivolous lawsuit. That was huge. I mean, that was something that we were one of the first states to do that. I think that was a big win. We're also going to be looking at some tax incentives and some fiscal relief measures. Now, when I say fiscal relief, it's going to be a little bit different. Something I should have brought up on your last question about the challenges. In Georgia, there's 535 cities and 159 counties. That is nearly 750 local governing authorities that you have to go and lobby. Now, that's important because they're the ones who truly handle issues like property taxes or any type of local taxes. And to be able to get in front of each and every one of them is tough for us if we want property tax deferment, property tax relief. I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, getting in front of them. So we're going to look at opportunities to bring that type of relief to the legislative front in the entire state's General Assembly looking into 2021. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
No, that actually was fantastic. And I actually want to keep this conversation going too. We're already close to the end of this year. We only have a few weeks left in 2020. Everyone has some sort of, I guess, perspective on how they think 2021 will look. This is a question that will go to all three of you, but for Krista on your side though, it's something that I kind of want to see. What do you think is going to happen in 2021 when it comes to lawmakers' decisions? What can be passed stimulus wise? How do you think the landscape will look with the new government that's taken over? We have, like you said, a lot of freshman legislators out there. So how do we re-educate everybody, and what can we expect kind of looking into 2021?
All right. So looking into 2021, it's uncertainty will continue to be that word of the year for 2020. Hoping not so much in 2021, but next year brings a whole different set of circumstances. As you mentioned, the legislative powers and the change of legislative powers. You saw that on the presidential side. You're seeing what's happening right now in the Senate, Georgia being on the forefront, what's happening in the House. But what people don't really talk too much about is what happens in the states. You know, the down ticket elected officials. Well, the interesting fact about that, next year is very important because it's a year of redistricting. So every single state will be redrawing their maps for their congressional districts and their state elected official districts. And in Georgia, for example, you have a Republican House, you have a Republican Senate, you have a Republican governorship. There was actually 2 other states that were flipped to have that trifecta, and then 38 states that have a majority, a Republican majority. They're all going to be redrawing their maps. So I think you're going to see a whole different Congress in 2 years, which is really interesting to think about, just from a political science perspective. And we need to continue to maintain those relationships and those educational opportunities with the freshman lawmakers that have come in. Actually, starting on Sunday, the next Thursday is the legislative biennial, and that is an opportunity for us to meet again, though we already have met with them, but to meet with them one-on-one, all the new freshman lawmakers coming into the 2021 Georgia General Assembly. And we're going to continue to educate them on the issues most prudent to our industry and the needs that they need to make. I think you're going to see a lot as it relates to COVID-19 relief for all businesses. I think a lot of the oxygen in the room, though, is going to be sucked up by voting and voting fraud and election fraud. And you're seeing that right now. I've actually got on the TV the Senate Judiciary Committee on elections for Georgia. I think a lot of the oxygen is going to be sucked up from that, but the rest will be spent on COVID relief measures. And then that's going to be the first 20 days of the legislative session. Next 20 days of the legislative session, or potentially a special session, will go towards redistricting. And that's kind of the mood that I see happening in the 2021 Georgia General Assembly. But it's going to be an interesting year, and I'm hoping that I can get rid of that word uncertainty before December 31st.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, something not a whole lot of people would know about the whole redistricting. And, I think, like you said, it's super, uncertainty right now, but hopefully once we educate enough of our members and, of course, our mutual members and everything, we can get, a little bit more of a positive impact on who our elected officials will become. And, hopefully it'll just kind of benefit pro-business. Millie, I think I tend to talk a lot about lending with you, but you're also a hotelier, and same question goes to you, but I want to know from your hotelier perspective, from your investments, your strategy, how are you going to look at 2021, just purely from that perspective, not as a lender?
So from a hotelier perspective, I think we're just on like cruise control. We are not investing heavily anywhere else. I mean, to be frank, we haven't bought or sold anything in quite some time. We are just managing what we have, not looking to pick up deals like people did in 2008-9, just helping our fellow hoteliers, keeping people employed, because talent and labor, it's just hard to get. It's only going to get harder. Obviously working with the brands. I think our biggest challenge is going to be working with the brands. If they start, enforcing PIPs and terminations and renewals and stuff, we're going to really face a hard time. So of course we care about the banks first, but I think the other thing on our head is the franchisors. So there's a two-way thing that hoteliers are going to be worried about. Of course, not to, mention people are really going to lose properties, right? Because of inability to pay. So we're the ones that are really stuck, right? I think if we don't get another stimulus bill, it's going to affect a lot of hoteliers. Everybody was able to survive the last 6 months because of that PPP and EDL. But if nothing else comes next year, then we're going to see a big fallout. But as for, our group, we are kind of just maintaining steadiness as much as we can. I tell all my colleagues that, guys, we are not here to make a profit for another 2-3 years. We are just trying to break even, and that's it. Just survive. If you can survive this and you survive 2008 and 9, you will be okay. Just keep chugging forward and don't give up.
Yeah, it's definitely a great message for especially most of our hoteliers here in Georgia. Jordan, same question to you on the investment side, but also want to hear your lending side. What do you just kind of give me your big picture here on, 2020 is over, 2021 is just about to begin. What are y'all looking to do? And then how can you pretty much execute on this formula, this strategy that you guys have planned for next year?
Sure. Totally agree with everything Millie's saying. And just building off of that, I think there's going to be a lot of distress going forward, even with the vaccine coming out, and you have seen occupancy levels kind of tick up over the last few months. I think, our portfolio is running a little bit over 50%. The rate's not there, but we are putting some heads on beds. Even in a best case scenario where the vaccine does come out and people do start traveling again, you're not going to see this immediate snap back in demand that brings us back to, 2017 through 19 levels. There's still going to be a lot of distress in the market. And, also what Millie was talking about was a lot of the relief that the lenders were granting their borrowers. A lot of that's going to run out. These hotels are going to have to pay up, and you are going to see a lot of foreclosures. You are going to see a lot of assets move into special servicing. And, we think all that movement is going to create a lot of activity in the space. There's going to be buyers coming in to acquire those assets. Those buyers are going to need financing, so we can come in and step in there. The banks are going to continue to see the distress at the property level, and they're going to want to sell those loans. So we'll come in and we'll continue to buy those notes. And then if those hoteliers want to hang on to their assets, we do have some ability to provide them with rescue capital to kind of keep them in their hotels. Our goal is always to keep the sponsor in place at all costs. So based on all that activity we're going to see, we're prepared to kind of be opportunistic and still be able to deploy capital wherever the need may be. But, we do see the light at the end of the tunnel. We do think it's going to be a 2 to 3 year window. And, we do have the tools and the options to help people hang on and just make it through and just survive, just like what Millie said. So, 21 is still going to be tough. It's going to be a grind. Everyone you talk to, they say, how are you? You say, fighting to survive. And, that's going to be the story for a long time, but we're fighters, and, as an industry, we'll come together and we'll get through it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think the panelists that we have here today, Millie, Jordan, Chris, I think you guys accurately represent what AAHOA and what we represent are. It's just AAHOA members. We are not a publicly traded, huge just corporation. We really are, mom and pops that own a few handful of hotels, and we pretty much take care of them like they're our babies. And, I don't know if you guys pay attention to the stock markets or not, but if you look at the valuations again for a lot of these larger corporations, they bounce back tremendously well, especially in these past few days, if not week or two. So, that kind of gives me some hope in a way, but also a little bit of concern, where the disconnect is that these large corporations that are back to almost 2019 valuations again, price per, stock right there. It gives me a little bit concerned of what Millie pointed out earlier, is how, some of the franchises or, whoever start implementing, full on, 19 level occupancy, amenities, and then also PIPs and everything else like that. That comes 2021, that will definitely have a huge impact on us, the hoteliers that have, no access to outside public capital. We're self-employed, money comes from friends, family, or just yourself. And so that really gives us a lot of concern. So when you guys are speaking to your guys' partners, your brand partners, or anyone really, your vendor partners, how do you guys pretty much, how's those conversations go? And what topics are you guys' most, just drilled down concern right now?
So I'm part of the fair committee at AAHOA, and we are diligently putting together, our master list of 10 points. And it ranges everything from delaying PIP to free breakfast to QA inspection being delayed. I mean, everything that you could think of that are the major points. Of course, every franchisor and franchisee brand has its own specificities, right? I mean, between, all the major franchisors have tons of sub-brands that all have different matrices. So I think the key here is that working with the franchisor, right? We have been feeding them for a lifetime. And so, come on, give us a little bit of relief, right? I mean, we're the ones, in good times, we're going to help you grow. Who's going to grow your brands, right? I mean, 50% of AAHOA members own 50% of the hotels in the United States. So when you come out with a new brand, we will remember you if you help us, but we will forget you if you don't help us.
Yes, great message. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I deal with every day is that these guys are trying to navigate the waters of the distress, and most pertinent to them is the financial situation that they're in. So just kind of keep in front of it, stay aware of it, keep that open line of communication that we referred to earlier, and keep those relationships strong. That way you can talk to your lender, you can talk to your special servicers, you can talk to the brands, and you can find that path forward, and you can identify that need, and then all come together to find the solution together. So we're just going to keep trying to stay in front of the problems that come. It's going to be tough, especially at the property level, but we'll keep fighting to find a way.
Right. Chris, I think you and Millie actually both made a reoccurring theme here, which is how do we get our membership to be more involved, and how do we equip everyone to have better conversations with their state and local legislators? And from your perspective, when you are talking with these legislators, kind of what data points or what statistics are you using? How do you gather it? And what could you use from the members to better, have concrete data when you speak with these people?
Yeah, definitely. First, feel free to give me a call. Happy to give you the actual data points anytime. You can look at our website, call any of us. But when speaking to them, you were just talking about small businesses. Something as easy as Georgia is the #1 state for small businesses. If we want to continue to be the #1 state to do business, then they must help our small businesses bounce back, so that we can continue to be the #1 state to do business. So it's a general assembly. Our elected officials are really pro-business for the most part here in Georgia, and just to continue to remind them that our industry is a group of men and women that are small business owners living in the state of Georgia. I think that's very important. I would tell your personal story, how this virus has impacted you and your colleagues, your team, both financially, emotionally. You let them know your personal story, because they'll remember that, and they'll listen to that so much more than just going down a list of data points on how bad it's impacted the nation. They want to hear about how bad it's impacted you and the men and women that you employ. I think that's very, very important. But just definitely get involved. We host events all the time. We host government affairs updates all the time. We have a forecast tomorrow talking about what we can expect between now and 4 years from now, when exactly we're hoping the industry will bounce back here in Georgia. We'll also have a government affairs aspect in that, where we're going to talk about what's happening with the elections and what we can see both on the state and local level moving forward. So it's important just to maintain that knowledge and to read through the bills that have been proposed and to voice your concerns about the industry, but most importantly, to voice your story, to tell your story personally to each and every one of these elected officials.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And from our perspective, our membership, they've always been very vocal and very active when it comes to voicing their stories and everything like that. What we find very difficult, though, is to get very strong, concrete data when it comes to our membership, your membership. We have a bunch of mutual members anyways. Concrete data about how many properties we truly own, what brands they're all with, because all that really does help our conversations when it comes to, lobbying on Capitol Hill or even here at the local level. So, if there's one thing that you absolutely need from the membership, data point wise, what is it? And then how can people provide this data for you?
I take it that was to me. So I guess the thing that we would need are the real world examples within the various districts throughout the state of Georgia. I want to hear how many hotels and what hotels each and every one of you own. within each county and each city throughout the state. I mean, that would help me out tremendously, because it does help out a lot, as you mentioned, when I'm going up to an elected official and giving them and when I can give them an example on how something like the COVID-19 impacted them in their district and impacted their constituents, the people that are going to go out and vote for them and put them back into office. When I can give them those types of examples, tell them those types of stories, it really does help me out. But when it's district specific, elected official specific, those do help me out. I mean, obviously we can go to the Department of Labor, the Department of Revenue, and get those typical statistics, the number of hotels in Georgia, the number of employees in the state. I like to use the entire hospitality and tourism industry as a whole, because the industry's been impacted generally, and to be able to say that there's 500,000 men and women in the state of Georgia that are directly employed by the hospitality and tourism industry, that helps out a lot. Talk about the ancillary benefits that our industry has. You know, how much true investment is really are you putting into your communities? You know, when it comes to buying within the community, the suppliers that you have coming in, the ancillary employees that you bring on, whether it's through accounting, whether it's through landscaping, I mean, you name it. To be able to bring all that into one and have it, again, district specific, it always helps us out.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the consensus for both GHNLA and AAHOA, as well, is that this data really truly does matter. We need this from all of our members, and I encourage everyone to definitely, log your information in myahoa.com. That was pretty much it from me, guys. I think, thank you all for sharing your valuable perspectives on our industry. Thank you for your time, especially. I think you guys all hit home for all of our membership. I think it's all relatable. We all need each other right now, and this is the most critical time pretty much in our history right now. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Millie. Now I encourage everyone to please head over to auditorium to hear from your AAHOA officers.